You get my face for that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LJL Officially Unofficial cast. It wouldn't be an unofficial cast if there weren't problems straight off the bat. It is what it is. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Alex, otherwise known as Lexi. I am your production host combination of the most. Lexi, other way, I go by Master on the internet. I am, of course, joined by the charming and handsome duo that is Initialize and Nymera. They can figure out which is which. They can fight over that later. Gentlemen, as I say always, introduce yourselves.
There's nothing quite like dispelling tension like a technical just mess up just happening as soon as you're going live. I love that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I'm Nymera. I'm the color cast of this little venture. And this is our last series of our first full split, the LJL. It has been a journey.
It has, and we've finally kind of arrived here. It is the Spring 2020 finals in an absolute grudge match between Sengoku Gaming and DFM.
And that's Initialized, by the way.
I am Initialized, it's true. I thought you would introduce me while you were doing it. I normally do for you, but no, you just didn't bother. Left me alone.
Anyway,
in the dark without
this sibling rivalry dispute happening,
How else would you want it, buddy?
We've been following the LJL since it started all the way back in the 8th of February. It feels crazy that we started doing all of this coverage that long ago, but it has led us here. At the end of that spring split, we saw DetonatioN FocusMe leading that top table at 12-2 and Sengoku in that second place spot. I think it's only somewhat fitting that we have Sengoku and DFM facing off. But gentlemen, how did we get all the way here? It wasn't quite a flawless journey for both of these teams, now was it?
No, it wasn't, and we've talked about regular split quite a lot in our previous broadcasts and stuff. These two teams, Sengoku and DFM, they went 1-1 in the regular split, and importantly, it was the second matchup which went the way of Sengoku, and that gave them the confidence, I think, to take them down in their first round of their playoffs, running round 2 in the Juggernaut match between the first and second regular placing teams in the regular season. And that was one hell of a series. We saw that Sengoku really came out swinging, had a really good grasp on the meta, and they took it to DFM 3-2.
Yeah, and it was a really nice way to get there. Our 6 teams that did actually end up making playoffs were the teams that, I mean, they've all had a story to get here. We had Axis in that 6th place spot. Arguably, well, actually, it was Crest Gaming.
What's the Cinderella story?
It was the Cinderella story for Axis. Crest Gaming Act were the team that had to fight off the tiebreaker match against Burning Core to make it in. We had Rascal Jester, the team that always had a draft option open. V3 Esports, our consistent team at the beginning to coming out, and actually the jungle was owned by Boogie. And then we had Sengoku, the team that made gods bleed and put them down a step. And our 4-time, looking to be 5-time, spring and summer split champion, just champions in only the splits, DFM. They've won more than just spring splits and summer splits. They've been going around since 2014. They've been doing more winning than anybody else in Japan and are the best team Japan has ever delivered. But is that going to stay true? All dynasties must come to an end. We're all well aware of that one. Gentlemen, what's your predictions for this matchup of gods?
Okay. So I think gods may bleed, but I think they also come back on the 3rd day, and I think it'll be, and I'll go for the spicy one, 3-0 DFM.
3-0. Wow.
Oh.
Okay, no, I'll call it. I, in our pre-split predictions, said that Sengoku would come out on top. I'm sticking to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be 3-2 to Sengoku. You heard it here first.
Okay, I would definitely agree with Nymera on this one. The idea that DFM are going to 3-0 when they lost a 3-2 already once before, they're currently in the negative win percentage. That's bad EV if you're a poker player. That is bad. So what would you do? Well, they've had a month and they looked rather strong versus V3 Esports.
Yeah.
Initialize, I imagine
That's what's got me worried.
I imagine you've got some thoughts regarding that, and that's why you've predicted so aggressively.
I do, and I think part of it as well for me is I have a lot of faith in both of these teams to kind of get a read on the meta. And I think the team that gets the stronger one is kind of more likely to just clean up the series. I think, honestly, my honest thoughts are I think it could actually be a 3-0 either way. Mainly because I do think these teams are one of those teams that like to get a read on the meta and try and pull out a draft that counts a lot of what the opponent wants to do. And I just think at the minute, with the way DFM looked yesterday, they look really damn good.
But there's something to be said about this format of playoffs where you have, the person who wins their Juggernaut match going to sit in the finals. We've heard from C9 players, from D2 players, from Fnatic players that it is a benefit to do that because you're not being left in the cold. You get to play yourself a playoff best of 5 before you get there, so it's not like you've seen no game time. And then you get to watch your opposing teams play off in a best of series, and you get to kind of figure them out a bit. And who better than to be sat there analyzing this play than Blank, the Blank Knight of ex-SKT fame. We remember season 6 Blank, where this guy was, you had to beat them with their first jungler to unlock the ability to try and beat Blank. And admittedly, he's had his worst parts of his storylines too, but you cannot forget that part of his game.
I mean,
and yet, go forth, Lexi.
I mean, I think that's just a really good place to actually go through the teams before we actually go into a really deep dive. Let's continue with Sengoku. In the top lane, we have Apperman. In that jungle, as Nymera mentioned, we have Blank. In his first split in the LJL, we have Pyrion. We we have arguably the most consistent player in the LJL, in Yutori Muashi, and then we have NT, the support which finds an angle when there just doesn't seem to be one. Also, his thresh hooks just seem to go through minions sometimes.
Yep.
Don't quite understand how that works. But over on the side of DFM, we have maybe the best player to ever grace the LJL in Ebi.
Hard debate.
We have Steel, and maybe just the best Japanese player, full stop, as well. In the jungle, we have Steel. In the mid lane, we have the god himself, Syros. In the bot lane, we have Utapon. And in the support role, we have Gang. Now, these are two insanely talented lineups, I think I'm safe to say.
Oh, for sure. I think this is the highest level of Japanese League of Legends we perhaps have ever seen. I actually don't know if there's a contest to that. Both of these teams are looking to really just slug it out with the other team. They have shown throughout the regular split and into playoffs that they know how to play very high League of Legends.
I mean, we lost Rampage, we lost Pentagram, we lost a lot of these other... We lost Unsold Stuff Gaming. We lost these guys who have been contesting DFM for years. And the only team that's kind of remained that was that were the challengers for the throne, that took down Rampage and all the rest of it, is DFM. And we've been needing new blood to come through and challenge. And we ended up with some fairly astounding teams coming and doing that. We ended up with V3. We ended up with Sengoku Gaming. Hell, we ended up with CGA, who could win and lose to the best of them, along with the likes of Rascal Jesters. And it has been great to see these teams come through and challenge with new combinations of players, with new blood, with imports from regions that give these people a chance to shine. Like Boogie is ex-Flash Wolves. He was a monster on the world stage, and he kind of came in over here and showed the rest of us how to jungle early and aggressively on things like Nidalee and Echo of all things. But it is, in the end, Sengoku Gaming and DFM as the last two standing. DFM come forward bloody but not broken. Sengoku Gaming, I think Nymera's point earlier about coming in from the Juggernaut match, being able to wait for a long time, it's great, but it has been a full week break, so it's not like DFM haven't had the time to do their own preparation, to hide their own things. Well, so I think this match could be absolutely stellar just from a drafting perspective.
I mean, that takes us into a really interesting avenue. We were talking before coming on, obviously we have to get our thoughts together so we're aware of where we're going. Well, vaguely attempt to. I mean, we all woke up at different hours over the last... It's early morning here in the United Kingdom, so do forgive us a little bit. Me and Nymera, before coming live, we discussed some of the high-priority champions that we believe are going to be very kind of important to the pick and ban phase for both of these teams. And Nymera, do you want to kind of run through with initialize kind of our thoughts regarding this?
I have a post-it with some champions written
on them.
I've been so prepared. I have, the best technology available to me. So in their last matchup, Ebi was such a point of power for DFM. If he had Renekton, he won the game. Both of the games that they won were on that champion. He smashed lane, he smashed team fights, he just ran away with it. I know some people have problems with Renekton as a pick, but Ebby on this champion has just shown that he can use it, the early game advantage, to just snowball to an uncontrollable lead. However, against V3, we saw that actually it was the Ornn which he was going towards. It was a completely different role because he wasn't the point of laning pressure, which that DFM have played so much around in the regular split going into playoffs as well. So he was playing this team fight style, and actually it was Seros taking up a lot of the pressure in the mid lane too. And a lot of that came through from random picks, stuff like Xerath, stuff which counters some of the meta picks. So for me, I think the Renekton and the Ornn are both very important for Ebby, and it will show which way they want to play the map in terms of how much pressure they want to put in the top lane. But also the mid lane, it depends what Pyrion wants to play. If he wants to play something like a Zoe or something like that, see if Seros has any of his updated tech to really take down those picks.
And I think it also answered some questions we had about DFM in the draft. We saw particularly in games 4 and 5 versus Sengoku Gaming in that Juggernaut match, DFM lacked consistent engage. Their one consistent engage option was a Gnar ultimate. And that is so unreliable. You need to wait for Gnar bars. And if people have good vision, and boy did Sengoku Gaming have good vision, it was a nightmare for Ebby to try and find an engage. Picking up an Ornn, just a lot more reliable as far as engage goes.
But then the question comes, do you think they're actually going to be able to get it? Or are there going to be picks and bans which affect that? A champion that I'm really interested to see how Sengoku react to this, as different junglers react differently to specific picks. Trundle was played all 4 games by Steel against V3, and Boogie didn't seem to be able to find a full perfect option around this. The Rek'Sai looked okay, but come mid to late game, even with Steel doing like 4k damage, just the pillar was good enough. That's all he needed. It was a champion that just made a pillar sometimes, and it just basically opened up the game completely for DFM. Are Sengoku going to have a response for that, gentlemen?
Sure, because obviously this is patch 10.8 now. The rest of the playoffs are actually on 10.5. So this is one of the big differences between this finals and the match which Sengoku won versus DFM. We've had 3 patches because of the month off. They've updated that patch. So we've seen Graves and Trundle raised to priority. And both of these junglers, very different styles of play. And Steel has always been a godlike Trundle player. You watch back to last summer playoffs, and before that even, he was still playing that even out of meta, really. However, Blank, if he wants to pick up something like the Graves, he's done it before in many different seasons. This guy's one of the best farming junglers maybe in league history, right? He's definitely been doing that in the LJL too over his tenure here from last summer split and now coming into this split too. So I think that the Graves might be picked up once again. Obviously Boogie picked that up into the Trundle too. I don't know if they have like a dedicated jungle matchup into the Trundle that they really want to take, but it does start locking off some kind of picks like the Sejuani, which we have occasionally seen some of these junglers go towards. And Trundle is such a massive counter to that. I'm
also
not sure.
Ornn.
And the Ornn is another priority pick, and that means that DFM, they play the Trundle really well, and they play with and against the Ornn really well.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead and choice.
Just thinking as well, there is also something about the jungle matchup in the early game, in that Sengoku Gaming in the series, in the Juggernaut match, had great level 1 plans. They found ways to get in and really contest what Steel and DFM wanted to do in the level 1, particularly around Pantheon, particularly around Elise. That's a little harder to do with the Trundle. And also, frankly, like, Graves wants to farm, he wants to kind of not have to deal with junglers super.
Yeah, none of that crap.
None of that, if he can help it. And considering where Sengoku Gaming found a lot of advantages, is the Graves might not play into that playstyle as well as they might like. And frankly, Steel also just read where Boogie was on the map yesterday really, really well.
But Graves works really well with the other pick, which is kind of the elephant in the room. It's the AD carry in the room. It's Varus. We haven't mentioned that yet.
I was going to go through that. I mean, before we really go on to Varus, I want to mention 2 other champions. I want to mention Syndra as well as Thresh. I think these are going to be the 3 other champions which both teams we've seen incredible showings on from both supports with Thresh. We've seen Yutapong and Syros and Pyrion all play Syndra to godly levels, relatively speaking, with arguably Yutapong playing it worse, which is hilarious because this is one of the best bot laners in the world, in the LJL, which is kind of crazy. And I mean, frankly, he's very good in general. And then you've got Varus, which is apparently, you could arguably play him in 3 different lanes, so he could be technically a 6-player split. He's not going to be in top lane, I know, but a man can dream.
Mid-bot lane. He's mid and bot lane,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, we saw that Utapon yesterday absolutely tore V3 and U1, even in their losing games. This guy just knows how to put out damage effectively, knows how to hit skill shots, and just win lanes so effectively on it, right? And actually, I think that the DFM 2v2 has potentially, before that series, been something which I've been questions about. Can they push an advantage? That game and that series, oh, absolutely they could.
Yes, 100%. Initialize?
There is also just something about specifically how they planned their. If you look back to Game 3 from against the series yesterday, there was just some very, very astute plans around the win condition, which was often the bot lane.
The level
saying,
one was very good from
let us set up this lane, let us set up the map that we can just dominate this. And they set up dives, they burnt summoners, they were flashing under tower for kills. It didn't work out in Game 2, but Games 3 and 4 it certainly did. And that kind of DFM forethought along with the mechanical plays in lane gives me a lot of confidence for them. But it's a different caliber of opponents this time around with some of the more storied members of the LJL, particularly
arguably some of the strongest laners too. Definitely, actually.
I mean, that raises an interesting question. Where do you think the most important lane is going to be? Or is there a duo which you think is critical to this match?
So, I think that he's not a robot, but Saros, I think he's been hiding his true username. I think it's actually SarOS. I think he's upgraded his operating system to a new kernel. And I think that Saros could be the key to victory for DFM, considering how well he played.
With that all said, yes, we are into draft. So, gentlemen, as I say always, normally it's a blast from the past, but we can't have that because we're doing it live. So I'll say, gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Maswan. It is so good to be here. I am still initialized. I am joined by my brother, commentator, and brother generally in arms, Alexander Namerahapgood. And we have got Sengoku Gaming on the blue side and DFM on the red. We ran down the rosters earlier, but we'll do it because we're into Champ Select as well, and that feels nice to do. So it's Apamem, Blank, Pyrian, Yutori Mayashi, and Enti for the upstarts in Sengoku Gaming.
And the old Titans, the men, the myth, the legends, DFM on the red side. It's Ebby, Steel, Saros, Uspawn, and Gang.
And I see some bans from Sengoku Gaming, which I don't think anybody should be surprised about. It is the set. It is the Renekton. You called it out earlier. We've seen it so often versus Ebby. Don't give him those champions.
Yeah, you can't allow Ebby to just crush the laning phase. He knows how to win lane and then win the game around that. On a similar note, DFM don't want to give up the Varus, which was Yutori Miyashi's strong pick versus DFM in their previous series. And the Graves obviously hasn't been played by Blank yet, but DFM had to play against the Graves quite a lot yesterday, and it looks like they don't want to play against it again just right now.
No, and especially when you know Pyrian is a really good Zoe, and the way Graves work is you have somebody else with poke come burst, and there is this threshold where poke does become deletion, and you add in a collateral damage on top of it, and it's pretty low on that threshold is what you need to kill someone off. Ziggs is the last ban for Sengoku Gaming. The Heimerdinger ban has been switched out for that because Saros has shown a couple times versus Sengoku Gaming versus V3 that in this meta, on this patch, do not give him that champion.
Exactly, yes. So DFM have to choose between letting something like the Ornn through and perhaps a couple of other power picks. Stuff like, the LeBlanc was, of course, treft up. That
the Trundle is too, though. So pick Ornn, take Trundle.
Yeah, so it's actually going to be the Trundle first pick. Now, that is a takeaway from Steel. He played that in every game yesterday.
He did, and Blank's a great Trundle player. We've seen it before in his past matches, and we'll see what they go towards a DFM. The Aphelios from Usapon yesterday was huge. So good. He went 13-0 into as they lock in a Kindred.
Oh my
Steel
word.
with the new tech.
Okay, and this is not something which I particularly predicted out of Steel of all people. This is the fighting pick, the Battle Ward. We've seen it all the way since Season 5. You can run into these beef ball faces and just try and shred them out.
I do love Kindred into Trundle. It's so nice. You can hop over the pillar. You can keep him at arm's distance with your E. The mounting dread is so useful there, and I'm so excited to see it, especially with the Lamb's Respite being used.
So I'll let you color cast the Kindred.
I just love it. It's one of my picks.
It is one of your picks. And you know what is another one of these players' picks? The Thresh for Enti. It's a takeaway from Gang. We saw Reyna perform very admirably on it yesterday as well. But this Thresh has been such a power pick throughout the LJL playoffs so far. The Yuumi might be paired up with the Aphelios in lane.
And you know what he needs on top of the safety of a Lamb's Respite? Some more healings and zoomies from Yuumi. This sounds like just a fantastic way to keep Aphelios alive and have a second carry if you need it from the jungle.
Yeah, and you've already locked yourself out against playing something like a Gragas, which can really knock you out of that ultimate. Same with the Lee Sin, something like that. So we'll see if Sengoku have anything they really want to try and counter that Lamb's Respite ultimate. It looks like we threw into the second ban phase, and the Zoe's been taken away from Pyrion. It has been his other strongest pick alongside that LeBlanc. LeBlanc has a KDA of 9, by the way. They've won
really
they've
good.
only lost like 1 game with the LeBlanc this split so far.
Yeah, and similarly with the Zoe, Pyrion plays a great Zoe, and you know what's quite good against double AD carries, even if you do have an invulnerability ultimate, a lot of down burst, and getting rid of those champions that can delete you sounds like a great idea. The Gnar is a good pick that Ebby does love to go towards. Didn't look fantastic in their original series, but looked significantly more coordinated yesterday.
So now I'm starting to ask myself, why has Ornn fallen so far through the draft and stuff like that? So Ornn is obviously one of these bigger picks. And what does Sengoku want to prioritize as a top lane flavor, right? Because they've had a lot of success on the Aatrox. I know it's a pick which has been maligned by certain analysts within the scene. The Victor is another pick that Sengoku found a lot of success on, particularly in their previous series versus DFM. Pyrion looked just superb on that. The Syndra is obviously still available for Seraphos if he wants to take it. But really, for me, Sengoku, I need to know what they're picking in the top lane.
I do. And we also know that DFM really love their counter picks. Seros loves having these weird tech to find counters and banning out the champions that are a little bit safer in a blind pick to put Pyrion into a more awkward matchup. Or similarly for Apperman to wait to see what he's doing. We could see what that goes towards. The last ban there was Syndra, which has been a point of power for Seros.
So, I mean, do we see Heimerdinger? Do we see something like that? There's obviously
an
outside chance of that.
There's an Aatrox, which Ebby does love and is really good on.
For me, it's a takeaway. It's a massive takeaway.
Apperman's so good on that champion.
And Sengoku have played so much around the Aatrox. I think it's their most played top lane pick.
Yeah.
It's definitely their most successul top lane pick.
Aatrox
the Ornn is still available. They can definitely go towards that.
Woo,
but, Apperman, he doesn't necessarily like...
Could be Pyrion.
It could also be that as well. But Apperman loves to pick himself some weird stuff. He's picked Yorick before.
He has. He looked pretty good on that. Last Rites is one of my favorite ability names. But they've gone towards an Azir. One way to shove people out of the Kindred is to Shurima shuffle them in, divide them into a new empire.
They're looking to play ping pong with Utapon. Try and get them out of that Kindred ultimate. Make sure that even if they have the cat on the shoulder, there is some way to start disrupting that Lamb's Respite.
Yeah, and Bird is the word. Azir locked in. Pyrion's a great one of those. And it is the Jace locked in anyway in the top side. An aggressive pick. We know how Apperman likes to play pressure on the side lane and not really join up to fights if he doesn't have to.
Okay, but what this means now is that if you pop the Lamb's Respite early, you can have an accelerated shock blast coming in as the timing comes down. If you're all grouped up in that one space in that ultimate.
Woo, there it is!
Finally going to see it. I'm going to drop any point about Jace. Who cares about that champion? This is only the second time we have seen Heimerdinger from Seros this split. He played it one time, the very first match of LJL Spring 2020. He wrecked face on it, and it was banned away from him every other game up until the very last parts of the splits, going into the finals as well. This is a story in the making.
It really is. And Azir and Trundle, they're going to have a minefield of turrets to try and walk through. Could definitely be some issues. And, Jace, it's all well and good if he wants to try and poke people up, he's got to find his way through that turret field, through the Lamb's Respite, through the Zoomies.
You know what's really interesting is that if you put the Lamb's Respite down on the Heimerdinger turrets, they don't die.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, because you can protect stuff like Baron and minions with it, right? So you can actually use them. You can use Lamb's Respite to protect minions when you try and take down Nexus turrets, something like that, right? So you can potentially save yourself the Heimerdinger turrets. Anyway, because this is currently an online match due to the concerns about COVID and all the other stuff, we do have ourselves a bit of a competitive integrity break before we go into games. So what we did yesterday is we invited Master Swan back to come talk about the draft before we kind of got into games. So do you have any thoughts about this very interesting draft?
Well, gentlemen, this is definitely an interesting draft to say the least. I have got a few notes on it.
Really?
Mostly what the devil is happening in the jungle for DFM, and also Heimerdinger. Also, how did Jace get picked over Ornn? I've got more questions than one.
So Jace gives you priority over the Aatrox. Kindred is basically just not picking a tank jungler into the Trundle, and also allows you to get stuff like the press the attack down. Kindred can also queue over the Trundle. Pillar gives you some more mobility. And the Heimerdinger can get priority over the Azir, but this is going to be a skill matchup in the mid lane. We'll see how confident Pyrion is facing as the Heimerdinger.
So, former SKT versus DFM. Okay, alright, let's see how this goes.
I know, and it is something about Kindred loving to invade, and invading into a Trundle as a Kindred is a lot nicer than invading into a lot of other aggressive picks. You can steal away those camps with the marks a lot easier. It's a bit safer. You can hop away. You can keep the Trundle at distance. That's kind of nice stuff for the Kindred as well, which I'm kind of looking forward to.
I mean, something of note is Sengoku were more okay with letting Heimer be played than Ziggs, as it was on their first round of banning.
Well, so I guess Hyman, as much as he has his ultimate grenade, which was nerfed in the preseason, it's not at the same level when, people like Tyler 1 were just one-tricking that champion and just making some absolute mockery
it was free real estate. Why wouldn't you?
It absolutely was, right? It's not at the same level of that. But basically, I think Ziggs it's really hard to just unroot in the mid lane. So, there's the MTG color pie and about how we describe champions.
I am well aware of the color pie, yes.
Aatrox is a mono red champion. I know Ziggs is technically a blue champion, but he's so boring and so hard to unsee. He's a beige champion to me. He is beyond colorless. He is beyond all of these things. He is beyond non-interactive. This Ziggs is so hard to unroot in that mid lane. They just didn't want to have something that they couldn't abuse it to any extent. Yeah.
I mean, thematically, Ziggs is actually it, if we're using the color pie and everything else. He's a crazy mad scientist, as is Jace, also probably very much an it.
Azorius. Is he not Azorius?
No, well, no, he's got random crazy stuff going on with technology.
I have no idea.
That's it. That's what they do. But
it's taken us 20 minutes to enable Magic the Gathering. I shouldn't have trusted you two.
I mean, I'm very okay with this as we go most cast with Altit. Gentlemen, who do you take a favor in this draft? Who do you think has the opportunity to maybe win this first match?
I think it's Sengoku. I think that DFM, as much as they've come out with some new tech, I think that Sengoku are not likely to throw away their win conditions. They know how to play around the map. They know how to play around early objectives, and they know how to play around their star players. So I think that with the carries on Yutori Miyashi and Pirin, they'll do just fine.
Nice.
I think DFM look really confident with this draft. I think they've had 4 weeks prepping. I think they've come in with a bone to pick. And I think this new tech and a little bit of Kindred bias is going to lead me to say DFM on that one.
Well, it is game on. So good luck to both these teams. And gentlemen, take it away.
Pirin's got the SKT skin. That's all I ever needed in life.
That's all I ever needed. Well, never mind that, because there's bigger things than a T1 skin on an ex-T1 member. Because we are here, finally, for the Spring 2020 LJL Finals. It is DFM versus Sengoku Gaming. It is Sengoku, the upstarts, the victors of the Juggernaut match, versus the Titans, the Juggernauts themselves, gods that may bleed but are looking for a third-day resurrection. It is Detonation FocusMe.
It is, and so 2 very interesting things here. The Heimerdinger is going to leash with turrets onto Kindred's first buff. It's going to be accelerated jungle clear from steel, and the level 1 has not been scouted out by Sengoku themselves, so they might be coming off of this not knowing exactly what the start is going to be. And one thing we've talked about, particularly in regards to DFM, is that it is important for teams to start trying to disrupt their early game, because they're so confident when they're not disrupted at all.
They aren't, and there we go. Steel started up on the red buff. He's down there. So is Trundle, but that means Steel once again will be pathing towards bot side. We saw that a lot yesterday. And when you know Utapon and this Yuumi are going to be a lot of your win condition, and likely Aatrox is going to be playing a bit of weak side, sounds like a sensible idea to me.
But the problem is you don't have the best setup for bot lane. You don't have something like the Trundle Pillar like you have when you were picking that champion yesterday, and you don't have anything like a Thresh Hook, which of course belongs to the other team. There's a Strut from Misfortune. There's a Lantern available from the Thresh, so if they don't make it there in time for level 2 before some of those skills are leveled, this could be a bit of an awkward gank.
And there we have it. Twitter has DFM as the victors, about 2/3 in favor. It is near enough dead, even with a 1% advantage to Sengoku Gaming going by the AI. Statsbot Blitzcrank calling it is damn near even.
Yeah, and that's what we want to see, right? We want to see the best of both teams. We know they can go toe-to-toe. We've seen it already in the regular season. We've seen it in the playoffs, and hopefully we'll see it here in Game 1.
We should and hopefully will. Kindred's down the bot side clearing up those wolves. Trundle's on his wolf camp as well. It is pretty much a mirror jungle path from both of these guys.
It is. So I think we're probably going to be sitting tight for a little bit in this game right now. The junglers have kind of traded over some parts of their jungle clear. Seros and Pirin going even in the mid lane. The Jace getting some priority over the Aatrox, which you kind of expect. For me, I'd really like to see Steel try and upset that top lane. Steel actually manages to put a ward down in the enemy jungle, but Blank, of course, has the sweeper. That is the jungle start, which we normally see with the trinkets. You put a ward down at level 1, switch over to the sweeper, Sweeper and get yourself some vision denial.
Yeah, and what it does mean is that Blank has been spotted out, at least early on. That's something for the side of DFM, but the ward has been taken, so I think both teams fairly happy with that little vision trade going on right now. Is
this
Steel
is
helping
2v2.
in, and it will be a 2v2, but for now, DFM are going to have to back away because Apperman with the priority gets
top lane.
towards the marked Scuttle Crab, which is a little bit of a loss there for Steel.
Of course, that is one of the things you have to keep an eye on with the Kindred. But one of the things is, remember, that if one of these Scuttles die, I'm trying to remember if it still remains this way. If one Scuttle dies, the mark will appear on the other Scuttle. I'm not sure if it will happen unless he leaves it long enough. It doesn't look like
you
you
do have to leave it a little time, and that's just a bit of a risk this early on in the game. You can sort of lose a lot of tempo as Blank is going in for an invade onto these Raptors, but Steel
no mana,
knows this is going on. He's going to go and try and trade onto this. And
there's no mana, there's no
Blank's
red buff.
potentially in a bit of a difficult spot here. There is the range advantage, and the pillar's gone down, but it's actually kept Blank away from Steel. The mounting dread stacked up does a lot of damage. And Period in a lot of damage. I think he's in trouble. He has to flash as well.
Okay. Yeah, so the Shifting Sands ends up giving him enough of a shield there to back off. He'll be able to teleport back to lane, but he will be a flash down. Oh no, Trundle's just walked into Steel again, though.
He has, and that's going to force Blank away in a bit of an ugly recall spot. Another ward goes down.
Battle warding. This is what happens when you get this champion. You battle ward.
And it's Trundle just doesn't have a fun time into Kindred. Did get the Raps at least, but, you know, it is now not in the greatest spot. Kindred's backing, not going to bother taking the Gromp.
But the thing is, right, what did you actually take away from Blank? You lost a camp. You managed to make him reset. That's something. But it's not like you took away any camps. You put a ward down. But even then, that's only going to spot him going between quadrants, not necessarily going onto his camps himself. So I still think that Blank is happy with that takeaway.
He is. The flash on Pyrian, though, perhaps a little less so, and has had to burn
the flash trade.
That is true.
That is the important thing, right? The Kindred lost the flash too.
It is. So that is worth keeping an eye on. Can someone get onto the Kindred, or can Pyrian be punished for being flashless? And of course, Seros, once he hits the level 6, once the grenades start hitting, could potentially look for a bit of a trade there.
And maybe Seros is in the wrong game. I'm starting to get Halo vibes because there's a lot of rings in inventory there. He's picking himself triple Dorans for this laning presence. This is what effectively we like to call, you know, a budget Rod of Ages. It gives you a lot of the same kind of stats: HP, mana, AP, and also the mana regen as well. So there's a lot of early laning power from that Heimerdinger now, but he's not managed to make too much priority of it thus far.
Blank just popping the pillar there to prevent the ward take. Bit irritating there for Steel, but he's going to wait for that to de-aggro and look back to take it, or potentially just start it up. Would be a little bit of a risk, but we'll have to see. Top lane, Jace is back for a Dirk. It's down a little bit in CS, but has got a wave to pick up.
The wave will even out most of that.
But pressure in mid lane, pressure in bot lane means that DFM are going to start up this early Drake. That was another point that that Sengoku pulled off very well in their first series versus DFM.
He's actually out of mana here. He's getting the plan to.
They're thinking about contesting this.
They have the blast plan.
They do. They're thinking about it. But Seros' has got turret set up. It would be potentially dangerous to come straight over this.
Yeah, there's also a shuffle available from the Azir here. Yeah, Blank's going to go for a steal.
He's going to try and get it. He does get it. But now he's in a difficult spot. The ward's been blocked. He goes down for first blood.
There's a double control wall to block. The Lantern wasn't close enough to the wall to get. He pulls out the SKT mode. That's what we like. Yeah, it's the objective play. Who cares about the kills, right? It was a double control wall put down, but it is first blood over to Kindred and a mark, importantly as well.
First Drake, it's a nice takeaway. It's the no Drake's not the biggest thing, but getting the first blood is a big deal.
And Sengoku plays so well around these dragons. I can't remember the exact dragon stats from their previous series. I remember that DFM only got themselves the one Baron, I think, or maybe 2 Barons over the course of the entire series, as opposed to like 5 or 6 from Sengoku.
They played the objectives so well.
And the Sengoku love playing around the early neutral objectives. It gives them clear win conditions, and then they just force the enemy's hand to fight around those neutrals very effectively.
They do, but then again, giving first blood over to the Kindred could be risky. Seros now in trouble, though. Blank is coming in, pillars down, flashing away. I think Seros is done for, but Pyrian now stuck in turret aggro, survives anyway. Great gank from Blank.
That's what I'm worried about in this matchup, is that the shuffle is very strong at taking down that Heimerdinger. Ebi pops the ultimate in the top side, though. Nothing gained for it, though.
Yeah. Apperman quick enough with the acceleration gate and the speed up from the form change. Mercury Cannon to Mercury Hammer gets him out of trouble.
And Ebi has been so strong in the top lane throughout this split. He was our regular season top lane MVP. He was in our first All-Pro team. This guy is so strong compared to the other top laners in this region. Pyrian here using his mana very well, knows he has just enough to get himself into the shuffle there and get Seros back in. He flashes over the Trundle pillar, but it's just not enough when Trundle, of course, has himself the flash already.
I think Pyrion, if he'd taken another turret shot there, may well have gone down, but survives just about. Seros taken down for a return kill for Sengoku Gaming. It's dead even in the gold. The only difference right now is that one Drake over to Sengoku Gaming.
But the thing is, though, as much as this Heimerdinger is staying even in lane right now, this is with the help of the triple Dorans, of course, which means that some value will be lost. Tyrion's actually looking to, Steel's looking into the mid lane here, going to clear out a control ward for his troubles.
He is, and that control ward does go down. Pyrion just backing off a little bit as Blank.
The 8-minute Herald rotation.
Here we go, Utapon's here, but so is all of Sengoku Gaming. This will be a bit of a tussle if we want to see it. Jace is going to be first to the rotation.
Flash hook!
Flash hook, but the final chapter's pretty good as well.
Steel's dead!
Steel is dead. Apperman now in trouble, though. He has to flash over the wall. He's going to die to Utapon.
But Utapon flashed over, though.
He has flashed over, but Ebby's here as well, and Sengoku Gaming actually having to black away. Utapon has now thrown all that. Pyrion takes a lot of damage as well, and Sengoku Gaming now in the blue buff pit are going to move away, and it'll be a 1-for-1 overall.
And Utapon with, as much as Steel's in the jungle, the balls of Steel are on the AD carry there, flashes over the wall, finishes off the Apperman there, who did come down from top lane to try and affect that play. But of course, Apperman has now died on that Jace. Oh, he's going to go for the shuffle into turret.
Oh, that's big for Zeros. I think he's just done for here.
That's a great play from Pyrion.
That was fantastic. And the man in the mid lane finds 2 fantastic shuffles in a row.
You know what that is? He knows that the Scorch is on him and the turret's aggroed. It means that Zeros will take turret aggro, even though the minion was still under turret. He shuffles him under, gets 2 shots on target. The flash wasn't available. Pyrion coming up huge on the Azir.
That is a massive deal, and it's another great play out of this guy on Azir. Let's have a look at this play around the Rift Herald before we think about that Azir set, though.
Important things to recognize. Level 5 on the Kindred, not level 6. Flash hook from NT coming in huge. Although the Yuumi ultimate does lock in place the team of Sengoku long enough that Apperman is punished for his positioning on the top side of that team fight. Utapon, as much as it is in enemy territory there, with the Severum Chakram combo, he has enough damage, and a Yuumi, of course, as well. He has enough DPS, even with just the BF Sword and Infantry, to threaten the rest of his the Sengoku team to get out safely. Look at this. Look at this. This is so sweet here. So I think let's have a look exactly what happens here. It's the Scorch, which is on target there. He knows that he'll take aggro, and really well played from Pyrion, knowing the limits of the champion in the matchup there.
Well played again by Pyrion. He's looking on fire here, and that's Seros caught out a couple times now. And just great play from Pyrion thus far. Definitely showing his mettle here. Bot lane, though, Utapon definitely coming out with a little bit of an edge in that last fight, even if the Utamiyashi was the grateful recipient of the kill over onto Steel.
Yeah, exactly. And this is now 2 kills onto, 2 kill participation onto the Azir. I'm a little bit worried about this top lane matchup, but Apperman will still do decent damage coming into the team fights with this poke build coming in with the Dirk. We're not sure exactly which items he'll go towards, whether he'll go towards
Blank's back mid.
Yeah, Blank is back mid for now. There's still no turret, no flash available for the Heimerdinger. The important thing for me is that Heimerdinger is not finding priority. It's not helping Steel invade early on, and I think that actually Steel is going to find it hard to start trying to fight around the map now if this Azir is going to turn up to the fights first.
And Infernal Drake is spawned, and Sengoku Gaming are here. What an unsurprising turn of events. Steel hopped over the wall, is going to be around. So are DFM. They're going to think about contesting, but it's already
Hook
very
lands
low.
onto the Kindred.
There is going to be the ultimate down. That is there. Final chapter's also down. Kindred stole the dragon. That's a massive deal and still survives. NT's now very, very low. Goes down to Ebby. Blank is now in trouble as well. He's taking massive turret shots. He goes down the Infernal Jane, picks it up, and it's a 2 kills and a Drake. Steel, how did you do it?
It's absolutely crazy. The Lamb's Respite coming in huge. It ends up saving the Kindred, even though the hook lands. The shuffle didn't come out, and Pyrion didn't really have much of an impact on that fight. Ebby, of course, teleported in as well, so it's the kills and a dragon over to DFM.
Oh, and this is a couple days in a row now where DFM have just found fights around dragons early on, and Ebby manages to get back before there is too much down onto this turret, saying Apperman uses his Hammer Form E to knock Ebby away, and that will be the end of trading up there, but that was just a great play there from DFM to turn around what was looking potentially a little bit dodgy.
It was looking bad. It was looking bad for DFM. I think if that dragon went over towards Sengoku, we would have seen what we saw in the last series between them, where they just stack up the early objectives and then it becomes a bit of a non-contest. Hook lands, pillar lands, but then this Yuumi ult locks so many people in place for so long. And Steel has his flash available, has his Q available. It's a good bullet time, but it's not quite enough to finish off the Kindred.
And with that Lamb's Respite as well, the bullet time just didn't manage to get the execute damage. And with Ebby there on his Aatrox, now at 2-0-1 with a CS lead versus what should have been the priority lane, that's a good start for the top side as well.
I'm kind of sad that Pyrion didn't go in for a big shuffle there.
Yeah,
I think it could have finished off the jungler, try and go for the fight before the objective was decided. This has allowed Steel to get back into the game somewhat. He's actually not on 3 stacks already at 13 minutes. That's pretty big.
He found a camp, he found a kill.
2 kills.
He's got 2 kills with marks as well. That's really big. And remember, the gold standard is 4 marks by about 18 minutes.
Yeah, and
that's really good news.
4 marks gets you that range increase on your Q and your auto attack. Also gives you, increased attack speed on your Q when you start jumping. So this will become effectively a second AD carry when ahead in this game, particularly if the marks start racking up. Second Herald's going to go over to Sengoku, though. Could change the game state quite a lot.
Yeah, but Utapon is down here. He's got the Wave Shove and Severum and Infernum. That's a pretty good combo for destroying turret plates. NT's around, but I don't know whether we can stop this. On the right side of the wave now is Utapon to avoid hooks. The Lantern in, though, from Utorimashi here should prevent more going down than that.
Yeah.
Herald was secured by Sengoku Gaming.
Yeah, Herald's secured by Sengoku. The mid lane is still going the way of this Azir on the whole, although plates are starting to fall in the mid lane after that turret play and the push which happened afterwards. Bot lane, relatively even, but who's got the lead in the top lane? Of course, it's the Shrimp Man. Ebby coming out huge on the Aatrox right now, so he might just be able to turn team fights on his own. He's done it before.
He's level 11. He's got a Black Cleaver completed. He's got Ninja Tabi completed. I think this man is more than willing to fight. And Apperman, yes, he managed to pick up the Executioner's Calling early, but he was down a little bit in CS. He only managed to pick it up after Ebby teleported him for a double kill in the Dragon Pit.
Yeah, and I think that kill onto Apperman around the first Herald fight, and also not getting into any kill participation for himself, has really affected this top lane matchup. But the thing is, though, at least there's an Azir on your team. There's Fortune. There's a Trundle to start disengaging a little bit, and a Lantern to help you. So I think that actually Sengoku are still very happy going into late game team fights, as long as they play it out correctly, and that's always the big question.
And Blank is around with NT putting down wards in this river around the Dragon Pit. It's how Sengoku Gaming like to play. It is, I will ward this Dragon Pit, I will be around it, I will just have this place under lockdown for as long as possible. Kindred, though, is looking for a lane gank, but here is NT and Blank.
This could be a pretty big gank here. There is a flash available to Utapon.
Yeah, Azir's coming down as well.
Steel is here.
Seros has a ward, and he's got a teleport available as well. Utapon stepping forward. Blank is around. They're thinking about this.
Who's hunting who here? This is going to be so big. Remember, there's a Herald available for Sengoku to win the fight.
has teleport, but Ebby does not. Remember, though, that Ebby can interrupt TPs. That's always a possibility.
So can Apperman with his hammer form as well. Looks like actually, oh man, because remember that Pyrion also has a TP in the mid lane if he backs off.
Here is the Pyrion does.
Steel's not been seen yet.
He has not been seen. They're looking to try and get on this. I don't know whether Steel, he's just going to back away because that engage just didn't work out. They're going to think about going in now because Blank's backing away. Utorimachi's in trouble. That's the fact. He has no flash. He's going to go down. Steel picks up the kill. Teleport's coming in as well behind. This is Seros. He's thinking about getting the grenade. Can't find it. The bounce, though, does. And that puts NT having to a flash now. And with the Drake up in 40 seconds, that's not a lot. But DFM find good news in that bot lane as the top lane tower is also nearly gone somehow, some way from Ebby.
Yeah, Ebby's finding a lot of advantages solo in this top lane. The thing is that teleport from Heimeniger means it won't be up for this eventual dragon fight, and the Misfortune will still spawn in time, having that strut passive available to walk across the map. So I think that this hasn't secured DFM the dragon just yet. It has secured them a bit of vision, particularly in that bot lane river brush there. And Blank will be clearing out some vision of his own, though.
Teleport into the mid lane. They're going to summon the Rift Herald as well. They're going to try and go for first turret if they can.
There's a natural dude going to say he can take this very quickly.
He can take this very quickly. Kindred's around though, and she's got a little bit of wave clear with the Q. The Dance of Arrows is there. They won't get that, but it means they will have priority coming into the Drake. And they've got vision up one more time. That's just how Sengoku Gaming playing. The Pyrion soldiers are up. Appman's over the wall. They're going to try and find it. Ebby's there. Ebby does land, but the Lamb's Respite is down.
Where's the shuffle? Where's the shuffle?
The shuffle is not there right now. The bullet time's not finding a lot of news, but Ebby's desperately low. And
so many turrets. Holy.
That is a lot of turrets. And you don't want to walk into those. They are trouble. DFM, though, are going to have to back away because that shock blast landed a lot of damage and they're on vision still. DFM don't know it. They're going to have to give up this Drake.
And actually, when we saw this combo in the LJL in game 1 of Spring Split, it was actually the Heimdallr and the Aphelios, the double turret combo. When you have the chakrams available, you just have so much zone denial control.
First turret,
teleport from Ebby into the mid lane.
And they get first turret. The shock blast misses. Ebby's here, and that will be a trade of Drake for first turret. Yumi meant that Steel got healed up really quickly, along with the passive on that mounting on the Wolf's Frenzy is the W, thank you.
This might be a second turret here.
Hook
actually.
onto Ebby, but I don't think they want it. And with the Ninja Tabi in as well, the lethality just isn't sticking all that hard.
Another mark onto Kindred, which means that
It
is
is.
4 marks onto this Kindred. The increased range has come in. 2, 1, and 2 is still. So this Kindred is not going to be shut down. This will be a strong Kindred in this game. So will be performing that role pretty much as a secondary AD carry for some of these fights.
And I also think double Black Cleaver from the Aatrox and the Kindred means that this
stack up pretty
Aphelios is going to be also hitting real hard.
Like a truck, yes.
Especially onto these squishy members, right?
Yeah, however, the question is, and Aphelios does struggle with long-range mages. You can end up forcing him out of fights. So this Azir might be able to shut down this Aphelios before anything really comes to a front.
Yeah, and it's about 1,500, nearly 2,000 gold lead for DFM. Slight Drake fee for Sengoku Gaming, and Yutorimashi actually did pick up a turret in response to the mid lane down in that bot side. But remember, the top turret and the bot turret are both very low for Sengoku Gaming. So there is gold to be picked up, and Ebby's stuck around at that top side. Pyrion is rotating though, so might not be able to get this turret on time.
Yutorimi actually did pick up that solo gold for that bot lane turret and a lot of waves there though. So Yutorimi actually is still being given a lot of resources here. And we know this guy basically to be the most consistent player in the LJL. This guy is
for a
absurdly
gank in mid lane here.
He has Flash Baron, both summoners on Yuumi. This could be quite difficult. I don't think they're going to look for anything but disruption here, really.
It's just disruption as that. And the turret in the top side did go down. Pyrion thought about rotating.
Pyrion's picking out some assist pings there. I was looking to see if he could get anything done. He doesn't have himself the teleport right now. The only teleport available on the map currently belongs to Apperman, who is on that Jace. And currently, he's just grouping with his team.
And Ebby knows what's going on. He's going to back away. Utapon steal Yuumi in this mid lane. They're kind of aware things are going on. Seros is free to take this turret on the bot side as Ebby backs away, probably wisely looking for some of that danger. And of course, Shock Blast hurts, but Yuumi heals are pretty good.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of wave clear from the side of DFM, and of course on the side of Sengoku
Second
too.
Herald.
This second, this will be the second Herald being taken by Sengoku, looking to take it down very quickly just before the Baron spawns, actually.
You're going to have to be very, very quick. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get it, actually. It's going to be...
We'll see.
I think they might just be a touch short. We'll see whether they get it. Keep an eye on that inventory. I think they've had to back away. It was just a little bit too slow.
They do get themselves the top lane outer turret, though. Gold going on to the Azir.
That's
and
big.
Pyrion has had such a good game thus far.
He has.
He's got himself an XP lead as well.
And
he's,
AI bot switched around.
I think that's largely due to the marks on the Kindred and some of the early game objectives. Sengoku really wanted to power themselves up to Assault. It would only be a Cloud Soul this game, which is not the best thing. It's pretty good on the Trundle, though. Allows him to kite through these fights as well. And the Misfortune, an important thing to note, is that the Cloud Soul starts channeling after your ult has finished.
It
gives you that movement speed alongside the strut. This Misfortune, with some fancy feet, can get away from a lot of these different plays.
Okay, we've got a bit of a breather. About a minute and a half before this second Cloud Drake, third potential Drake for Sengoku Gaming will be spawning. And we're probably worth checking in on some items because Aphelios has got to his second just now.
Misfortune's not backed in a while, so probably has that too.
And that's a pretty big one. Seros has found himself to an Oblivion Orb and Luden's combo, which is very nice for him. But there is a needlessly large rod and a lost chapter in inventory for Azir. And Misfortune does at least have an item
the AD components, at least.
Apperman, though, a little bit anemic, is finding difficult to find a set lane he actually wants to be in.
But the thing is, there's no armor onto the Heimerdinger and the Aphelios. It's not going to be so much about the poke because there's a Yuumi. But if someone is locked in place or put next to a Trundle pillar, the burst is still going to be very respectable out of this Jace.
And that's what we have to think about, is actually long-range vision, use of vision to poke people out. That's how this Jace's going to have to play.
There's a Comet Azir as well, so that poke will come in from there as well. Shock Blast actually misses in the mid lane. They don't have themselves a Herald to take down that mid lane turret. The Dragon spawning in 40 seconds. It is, of course, a Cloud Rift, what we were talking about. And the ultimate cooldown on those Drakes is still very important to both teams.
And Sengoku Gaming's fanatic devotion to Vision River control is going to be a little bit hard to come by this time around because there is a Scuttle Crab down for DFM. As Utapon stepping forward very aggressively here.
He feels pretty safe here.
Yeah, he does. They're just forcing people back right now to get this control back. Ebby's here as well, is a very strong frontliner right now. Has got his death stance completed just in time for this Cloud Drake fight as well. Ebby, of course, we've already talked about his items. Yumi's got her Athenes in as well. That's big news. There is a couple lethality items in for Jace, and there is some tankiness. Okay. Did do a lot of damage to Udapon, but the Zumi heals just so good right now.
They are really good, and you can see that in these poke wars, much like yesterday when the Yumi was working very well for V3. It's just keeping DFM topped up, and they're trying to keep this poke war going as long as possible to get them as bigger advantage going into this dragon fight.
And there is this question, can Pyrian set up soldiers? Can Saros set up
The
turrets?
turrets are set up
And
right
the
now.
turrets are set up right now. Pillars there, but it's just keeping people into that bush on the side, and that's about it for now. Ebby and Steel back around. Apperman finds decent poke on a Steel, and they're going to start up this Cloud
They've
Drake.
lost themselves some positioning here. Sengoku kind of doing the loop around, coming from the bot side now. The turrets are not in the right place to fight this.
They aren't right now.
This is
Steel is going to be
the advantage.
He
on
has
Spike.
got thrown down. That Lamb's Respite is still in the pit, though. Blank now caught in the back, and Kindred, it gets it again. Another contest goes the way of DFM.
So that was the first point. It was the Lamb's Respite keeping the dragon alive. So it means it wasn't being put down its only kind of burst range. And then the level advantage on Steel came through with that
They're
smite
thinking about
advantage.
Baron.
And they are thinking about it because, of course, Heimerdinger takes it very, very quickly with turrets.
They do, and they've got double AD carry here with the right items. I think this could go down really
Yeah,
fast.
I don't think
Pyrian's not here. Blank's on the wrong side of the map. He can't come and contest. It's gone down so down low. I think DFM get this uncontested.
Yeah, it's gone. That's it. The Heimerdinger, the Kindred, and the Aphelios just putting out so much damage onto that neutral objective. So the objectives in the last couple of minutes, normally we expect Sengoku to be in control of those, but it's going to be DFM taking a Baron and a Cloud Drake for their troubles.
They do at least get this mid lane turret finally by weight of minion pressure.
Yeah.
But I would take the Baron and a Drake over that any day of the week.
And particularly when you've got a really good siege comp with the Yumi being able to throwing out the prowling projectiles, having the Heimerdinger with the grenade spam as well. There's a lot of ranged advantage they have, but they need to be careful not to overstep into a good engage from Sengoku, into a hook, into a Trundle Pillar, of course into the Shurima Shuffle as well.
And we saw that a little bit yesterday from DFM, where they would get a little bit aggressive with their positioning around particularly these inner turrets, less around the inhibitor turrets, but around these inner turrets they did find they were getting flanked or engaged really heavily on. And while they went largely even versus V3 in that game one, it did offer V3 a way back into this game. And while DFM at a respectable 3,500 gold lead, have still got to be careful of this Azir, who's not far away from a death cap.
And yeah, exactly right. The Azir is strong. The Misfortune is still strong as well. Built up the Infinity Edge and the Essence Reaver combo. So the damage is there if Sengoku managed to set up correctly for it. It's just whether this Jace can really start making an impact on this game.
Yeah, and that is the question. Can the Jace find a way to get an impact on the game? Thus far, Apperman has been struggling to do that thus far. 0, 1, and 0 is not really what you want to have out of your Jace right now, but he does have damage. We saw that poke go down onto Saros there, and he's split pushing, but carefully. We know DFM like the 1-3-1, and with double teleport, that makes a lot of sense, but they're trying to manage their waves as best they can right now.
They are. So there's an Umbral Glaive and a Yumi's Ghost Blade built up for the Jace now as well, so a little bit more vision control. But basically, if DFM manage to get to the objective first, they tend to get the positioning and, of course, the final result on it. They're going to push into this top lane in a turret, and with the Baron buff, it should fall down pretty quickly here.
It should do, and it's not long for this world. There's the Gravitum ult, forcing the Binding Eclipse. Potentially, there it is. Just some more damage means that Azir can't really come and contest. And that turret goes down.
Pyrian respecting it pretty well. This is a huge wave in top lane, though.
There comes the bullet, and Ebby just interrupts it with a Darkin Blade.
It's actually taken up most of the wave already. I still think that's okay.
It is, but the bullet time cancelled is something, and they've still got 2 cannon minions here. That second cannon minion did survive, which is
Pyrian's back here to try and queue these down, though. I think it should be okay.
Looked for the hook through the cannon, didn't land. Utapon healed straight back up again. And Saros is shoving in the bot side all the while. This is a 4-man push in the top side. Saros taken fairly low by the poke of Jace.
And now the next wave's here. So you
played
out one. What are you going to do about the next one?
What are you going to do? Ebby stepping forward, throws the Infernal James, forces the shifting sands out of the Azir. We've got about 10 seconds left on this Baron buff. The tower is taken low, but it won't go down.
So turret defense is somewhat successful, although DFM might have looked to stick around, try and get something out of it. The base is not broken from Sengoku. There's a 5,000 gold lead on DFM, but the question is, who is that gold lead on? At least the carries are somewhat even. Utapon being slightly ahead of Yutori has the zeal to the longsword right now. Not sure exactly what Yutori is going to go for on that Misfortune. I assume it's going to be a Bloodthirster since that longsword's been picked up.
Yep, that's what we're assuming. But at this point, about a minute to Cloud Drake number 3 for both teams this time around. And we'll see what the items were picked up. It was a full Phantom Dancer for Aphelios when he went back. That's a pretty big one. It's a needlessly large rod for this Heimerdinger who's going towards his own death cap now. Black Cleaver complete for Kindred. All good items for DFM. And, we've got to keep an eye on the items, of course, the Azir and the Misfortune.
Yeah.
The Executioner's Calling, I think, is a sensible buy for Misfortune. And as I start speaking about Azir's items, lo and behold, he has a very mighty death cap that's
also,
just come through.
I was wrong. It was an Executioner's Calling coming out from Misfortune, thinking that the Jace, if he's not at the fight, he would need some extra kind of healing reduction because there is so much over the side of DFM.
And Jace is having to come and contest this Seros quite a lot. Steel hops himself away, and he's alive and well.
So what operating system is Seros on? SerOS.
Linux, because he just does weird stuff.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And sometimes it's just like, what are you doing? And sometimes that's genius.
And the regular stuff doesn't work on him. We'll see if the regular stuff works on the rest of the team of DFM, though. We have ourselves some posturing around this Cloud Dragon, which is spawning just now.
Looks like the bot lane will have a good flank, though.
Yeah, see how quickly they can take down this Dragon. They might want to
try
rushing
it. They've got a lot of damage with that Azir. I think it's just gone. Yeah, there we go. They're going to get third Drake. Ebby's looking potentially for a flank here, but he's in a bit of a difficult spot. That's pretty good. Ebby now in serious trouble. Flashes back into the Lamb's Respite. That's pretty good news. And that means the bullet time doesn't get as much done as they would like. And DFM do manage to escape with their lives, but blinking health bars.
Yeah, they slight escape with that. A couple of summoners burned as well. The flash is very importantly on the Azir and the Misfortune, but there is going to be the Dragon and Soul point now for Sengoku.
And they're going to say, we need to set up around this Baron, which will be spawning in a minute. But the Cloud Soul point is available for Sengoku Gaming, who just rushed it down. That's what happens when you get a death cap.
And there's something to be said, actually, about the Comet scaling, of course, with your AP, and having the death cap means that your poke is actually very effective on this. If you manage to get, like, an auto Q trade with the Comet on top of it, that's most of a health bar gone, particularly into the late game. Aphelios, actually, they're going to see him backing just now, which means that Blank will be pretty confident to walk up into this enemy jungle, try and get some vision down. Maybe some priority for this Baron, which is spawning very soon. Remember that even though the Heimerdinger have rushed it down for DFM, you can rush down a Baron with Azir as well.
Blank and Enti are in this jungle along with Appermen looking to take away this red buff. And once again, Sengoku Gaming are playing the vision game. It's how they like to do it. Look at the vision score for Thresh in particular. It's been vision denial all day of the week. They're running their 4 sweeper comp again and an Umbral Glaive. It's how they love to play these games. It's a Sengoku Gaming super strat. 77 to 40 on that.
There's an Umbral Glaive. There's I noticed the sweeper onto the Azir slightly earlier. Yutuan just eating a combo there, but of course, I mean, he's got a Yumi, it doesn't particularly matter that much. There's some wards around here. See if the hook lands.
Thinking about it, Seros in a bit of a difficult spot. The pillars there, they're going to try and land a bit more damage. The hook missed, and now Enti's in trouble, has to flash away, and the Mounting Dread is stacking on the Thresh, but he does get out. Flash burned, though, for nothing onto Seros, and they're going to get midway priority as they start pushing. Scuttle Crab is claimed by Blank, though. That means there will be uncontestable vision around.
The Trundle's Pillar Slow isn't actually always landing there. I think, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so that is actually the inner turret going down in the minute. I was wondering if it's
bot wave's pushed in by Ebby as well, so that wave's going to be shoving.
Yeah, but you can't leave. Yeah, I think you just have to leave it, seed that turret, get the blue buff onto the Azir is good. Level 16 now, so that Emperor's Divide going to be much wider. It's also going to last slightly longer, I think, as well. I think the duration does get increased, but the damage, of course, is going to be huge with the items.
Another big chunk onto Enti, caught across the wall with that. A grenade. Seros has been landing those pretty consistently over these team fights.
Yeah, so Thresh is going to have to recall. Has himself Swifty Boost, not Mobies, which is quite important for these reset kind of timings. Some more vision cleared out by Blank, and Pyrion doing a good job of that, as you were mentioning earlier. We'll see if any poke can land the other way from Sengoku, or whether DFM can just try... Oh, Pyrion's actually looking there. Gets the poke
a lot of damage. Seros is pretty low, but there's Yumi heals there available. Blank now stepping forward, but he's taking him out.
Walking into the Azir is very bad, too.
But walking into the Azir is pretty bad. Yumi heals them back up, though, and that means that most of the health bar damage has been kind of nullified.
But a lot of the vision which they're fighting for is being removed slowly but surely. They've managed to recoup some of it with some of the wards in inventory. Still looking, going in with the sweeper himself now. Hook does miss.
Second blue wall goes down. Blank and Sengoku Gaming are continuing doing it. It's a big gold lead. This is a pretty huge point of power for DFM, but Pyrion and Blank, this duo from SKT, are looking to try and find a way back into the game.
Before.
They have. And Steel, though, is over the wall, finds onto Blank, is doing some damage to him, and this time the trades onto that Trundle, who takes about half his health bar. That's a pretty scary point. Utapon taken to about half his HP.
Oh, so many turrets here right now.
And there are so many turrets. You know, you can contest the vision all you want, but you've got to find your way versus these turrets. And that's super obnoxious.
It is. And there are the turrets also on Aphelios as well. He just switched out the Calibrum, actually has himself the Gravitum now after the ammo ran out.
That's a big one.
Autonomy actually managing to keep the wave push in the mid lane fairly, even though this is a dance.
He's pushing in the top side.
Steel might get caught here.
He might. He hops over the wall. Is going to be in a bit of trouble. Has got the Lamb's Respite down. He's in that there. He's not pulled out of it.
Oh, he almost jumped out.
He almost jumped out, but he does survive. He's going to get healed back up. That's a fair amount burn once again. Ebby has teleported in.
But without the Lamb's Respite, now the hard engage is very much threatened from Sengoku. And this game is on a knife's edge. One skill shot landing, one mistake in positioning could cost you the Baron and then the game.
Yeah, Ebby did burn his TP, which is a pretty big deal.
Oh,
NT's potentially in a bit of a difficult spot here.
I was about to say.
But he backs quickly enough.
Casually 6 levels down on the top laner of CFM.
That's a scary point to be in.
Yeah, and there's a lot of items on this Aatrox too. Actually, if these recalls are being spotted out here, there might be an option to try and... No, okay, looks like actually there's going to be resets coming from both sides. I was wondering if Sengoku could rush down the Baron themselves. Azir has the teleport. He's going to back, see what he can get. Looks like he might be heading towards Ludens, actually.
Sengoku Gaming are thinking about potentially going towards not just the Voice Staff. There is a Cloud Soul on the table here that's spawning in 10 seconds. The Baron posturing went on that long. It has come back up. DFM are around to contest. Steel's going for
There's no wall on Steel! No wall on Steel!
Steel does go down finally. That's a final chapter. Pyrian has to back away. Ebby's very low. He's down. That's huge! Utapod is a monster. He's got it to Pyrian. The exhaust gets that as well. Pyrian is looking to go down. Utormi actually is dead as well. Triple for Utapod, and he cannot be stopped on this Aphelios.
And as much as we were thinking about the Kindred, it's poke wars, all this stuff, you forget about the Aphelios. He has so many items. He has 4 items and a GA, of course, being part of
They're running up to Blank. He's going to get slowed. He can't find his way out, but with a pillar, he does disengage.
They're just going to stop him from smiting, I think. They don't want to give over the Cloud Rift. And yeah, what a turnaround from Utapon and Gang there.
This bot lane, 2 series in a row. That first Rift Herald fight today on this game. This fight around the Dragon Pit, this bot lane are here to play.
So Steel just walks up far too aggressive. He walks into a full bullet time, and of course, Ebby takes a lot of that damage too. But then Pyrian takes a lot of damage in the first part of this fight.
Oh my
Deferring him onto 2 people, just knocks out 2 people immediately, flashes forward aggressively, and the exhaust stops the turnaround from the Azir. I reckon that with a couple of auto attacks, and of course the Emperor's Divide, that would have been the GA pop, but the exhaust was huge from Gang.
It really is, and the double AD carry, the turret's up. It'll be Baron number 2 for DFM. There's no jungle, they don't need it. It's gone already. Blank might try and interrupt some backs. Yep, he does.
Utapon has to flash it. They could try and hook someone. They're going to hook someone in.
They're going to put the last chapter down, though, and that's pretty big. And actually, now they're in trouble. Utapon says, are you really sure you want this? And it's another couple kills over to this AD carry who says, why on earth were you giving Utormiyashi the best AD carry role? Because I am here, and I am clearly in it to win it. 7-0-3, 4 items complete on this Aphelios, and he's looking to put his mark on this first game.
It's not quite the 15 or 13-0-2 of yesterday versus V3, but Utapon is turning up huge in this battle of the best AD carries in the region.
And they're shoving in. They've got Baron. There's 2 people dead. There is no Utorimiyashi available. They're going to look and try and end it. Ebby stepping forward. Blank is now in trouble. The turret is disappearing. Blank just can't find anything right now. Utapon is a bit low, but remember the GA is still stacked. They can't stop it. Steel is dead, but there's still 3 people, 4 people because Yumi's on somebody alive. And Ebby's just in the front line saying, I won't let you past me. Final chapter is challenged. And the final chapter of this game is done. DFM strike first. And this grudge match is well and truly alive.
And we wanted to see some of this objective play. We want to see some big team fights. We got plenty of both, but only one came out the winner. It was Detonation FocusMe. So, coming out of game 1, Mass 1, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
And oh god, I needed to.
Hey!
I unmuted on there, but not on there, and it's too many things. Utapon came out with a statement at the very end. That was just incredible play from Utapon at the very end. Playing around that dragon fight, I thought Steel had gone too deep. I saw Ebby die as well, and I was like, oh my god, is Sengoku gonna turn this around, get the Dragon Soul, and then just basically go for Baron and end? Maybe try and really force it back in? No, Utapon says, no, I am Aphelios. I will get a 5-man ult, it feels like, and basically clean up, take the dragon, take Baron, and end the game. GG, well played. Over to DFN.
And I really want to praise Gang, actually, in that play. Because obviously, as Yumi, your job is to make your AD carry look good. And Utapod looked fantastic that game.
He did.
And particularly for me, in the 2 turnaround fights, we saw the one where the hook landed onto Utapon and the Baron as well after that. The last chapter just came in and rooted everyone in place, got everyone killed. Before that, of course, as well, the exhaust onto the Azir in that one play, when the Azir was going for this really high burst build with a high AP, you get a Q and an ult and a couple of autos, and that AD carry dies very quickly, but Gang with the exhaust really on point.
And when you have two teams of this caliber, it's often the clutch moments that decide things. Still got two Drakes out of nowhere from good contests.
That first one, that second one rather, was really important.
Really good. Like the double Barons that were kind of called out, and Utapon with those two amazing fights, the one around the Rift Hog, the one around that last Dragon fight. That's kind of what sometimes decides these games. Yeah. And it definitely did in this one. We're going to see on the official stream one of that initial steal from Trundle. You thought maybe that was a good idea. It didn't work out. And Blank was trying, but it just, the objective secure wasn't quite as clean this time around from Sengoku Gaming.
Like I said, I do feel bad for Pyrion. He had a very good game.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a really interesting draft. We saw a champion I don't think anybody was expecting to come out from Steel. And I mean, that was shown to be critically important. We're going to go on a very short break here over on the LJL Official Unofficial. We'll be right back, though, with more analysis and also to bring you match 2 of Detonation FocusMe facing off against Sengoku Gaming in our finals. We'll catch you very shortly. Take care.
Stick around.